I had a plan for 2026. This was the year that I was going to do a lot. I was going to learn, I was going to read, I was going to become the greatest version of myself. This was ultimately the I Choose Me journey. At the end of 2025, I laid out everything I was going to learn, everything I was going to do, the journals I was going to write in, and everything that I was going to create. But as life usually does, things got flipped upside down. My mind was preoccupied with other things, and in the end, I ended up exactly where I wanted to be, learning about myself and the world around me. So what I want to share today is where have I been and what is coming next. There's 5 more months of 2026, and you might be where I am right now. Most of the first half of the year is gone, far behind us, but there is still 5 months ahead of us and a whole life after that, hopefully. So what I want to share with you today is what did I learn? What do I keep going back to? And how have I really started to choose me? One of the things that I was preoccupied with this year was figuring out why people were and were not acting in certain ways. Just like I had a plan for myself and how I was supposed to act, there was a plan for everyone else. They were supposed to say the right words. They were supposed to care in the right way. They were supposed to show up for me. But just as when we have expectations of ourselves and others that are unfair, things start to fall apart. There was a lot of major events that happened in my life this year and in my family. And for me, it all was supposed to play out in a certain way. But that's not how life works, and you cannot control other people that way. My friends really distanced themselves from me this year in ways that I didn't really understand. And I had to figure out who I was in between all of these things. My brother got married, the World Cup happened, and Bosnia was in the World Cup, which is where my family is from, and a lot of emotions got unearthed. There was a lot of healing that had to happen as songs were sung at the wedding and at games, and I realized that there was a lot of things that I hadn't dealt with for a long time. And it was because I was holding people and the past to an expectation that I was never going to meet. My family in Bosnia is pretty much encompassing most of the family that people have. My grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins. It's basically just my parents and my brother in the States. And for a long time, I was disconnected. I didn't know where I was from or what it meant. And I didn't understand why they behaved the way that they did towards me. I was expecting them to act a certain way, and they were not following through. And of course, when you're a child, you don't know why people act the way that they do or why they say the things that they do. But what I have finally come to the conclusion, after 27 years of being in the US, July 22nd was the 27th year that I am in the US, is that people get to choose how to behave, and that at the end of the day, I cannot hold myself accountable for actions I did not commit and for living a life that I was given. It is not my fault that certain things happened, and it is not their fault that certain things happened. We grew apart. Our lives were not meant to intersect more than they did. There was a great deal of time where I was like, I wish I had this bigger family, this extended family. But I also know that I wouldn't trade the life that I have right now to have that so-called fantasy life. And what I had to come to terms with that, not only did that family and grandparents over there not need to fulfill certain actions in my life, neither did anyone else. Not my parents, not my brother, not friends. No one had to act a certain way in my life in order for me to live my life. I was allowing their actions or inactions to keep me from living my life. And that is something that I was preoccupied with most of this year. I was thinking about other people, what they were doing, what they weren't doing, and questioning why. Trying to figure it out, staying up in the middle of the night. And then finally, I came to the resolution that at the end of the day, what other people do is up to them. What I do is the only thing that I can control. I can't control if they say certain words, if they show up, I can't control it. All I can do is show up for me and decide what is and what isn't okay. I have to decide that their behavior or lack thereof is who they are and who they choose to be. For a long time, I awarded certain behaviors less importance or less intensity because I was always making excuses for people who were not making excuses for themselves. I was willing to be like, oh, well, this is why they're acting, or this is why, or they don't really mean that. When in actuality, the choices they made is what they wanted to do. The war at some point ended, life continued, and they chose the behavior that they chose. And my family is what it is. My family is who I grew up with. But if I am going to choose to define myself by something, it is not going to be a word or a country or an idea. I am more than the combination of my worst and best moments. And the hardest things that I've had to face and the best things that I've had are not who I am. So at the end of the day, my own actions and inactions also do not define me. I have the ability to choose what I do next, to who I want to be. The fact that I didn't do as much as I wanted the first 6 months of the year doesn't mean I can't do anything the next 5 months. Every single second and every single moment is the chance to choose again. And it is something that I keep going back to. It is something that I wrote in one of the very first things that you do every month. I forgive myself. And that's something that I had to learn. I had to learn to forgive what was and what wasn't, and to accept that it all actually happened exactly as it was supposed to. I am where I am because of every decision that I've made. And if I was to erase anything, if I was to remove it, I would lose myself in the middle of it. I had to learn to let go. I had to step back and say, you know what? Some people choose to act a certain way and others choose a different path. And I am choosing my vision and whatever path I need to take to get there. And there's this really great quote that I saw, that you're given the vision for a reason and not the path, because if you saw the path, you wouldn't want to take it. And that's basically how I would attribute most of my life. If I had to realize what I was going to face, I probably wouldn't want it as much because I wouldn't have believed in me. But at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself more than anyone else. I had to believe that today I could get up and make a different decision. That what happened yesterday was in the past. That what happens today is going to move me forward. Whether I want to or not, life continues on. And if we can't go back and change anything, we can choose to act differently now and move forward that way. Because at the end of the day, we have to accept that our life only starts after we make that decision. We can stand on the crossroads for the rest of our life, but we're not going to move forward. And that was really the second thing that I had to decide was, what am I going to do now? They've made their play. What am I going to do next? And this is something that I've come back to over and over again. The way your job treats you, the way others treat you, the way your family, your friends, your partner, the way they all treat you is how they're treating you. It's up to you to decide if that aligns with your standards of who you think you are and your boundaries. Are they showing up exactly how they're supposed to? And because of how many different decisions I've had to make in regards to various relationships, I've also taken it into account that the most important decisions I can make is for me. I have to get up early, go to the gym, eat the fruit instead of the candy. I have to put one foot in front of the other and make that decision. And for a while there, I was like, well, I can't be happy until this person's happy. Or they have to act a certain way in order for me to feel like this was justified or that this scenario is okay. And at the end of the day, we can wait for others to start acting the way we want to, or we can start acting the way that we want to and see who matches up to this different version of us. Who is actually reflecting back to you what you want to see? And if people aren't, if they're not showing up, if they're not acting appropriately, you get to decide what happens next. That person doesn't have to take up the same infrastructure in your life. They don't get to have access just because they've always had access. You may have known them for many years, but do you know them anymore? Do you really know who they are? Do they match up with who you want to be? If you look at people in your life and you wouldn't make the decisions that they're making on a regular basis, then maybe these aren't people that you need to take advice from or to hold your life up until they catch up. You only get one life. And at the end of the day, we really don't know how long that life is. We hope that it's for a long time, but we hope that because we want to live it. And I realized I wasn't living by talking about what other people were doing or what they weren't doing, or being upset about my job, or being so tied up with things that I couldn't control. So I had to take a step back and be like, you know what, I will do what I can, and I will allow others to show up too. You are not the engine, you are not the person that needs to run everything. You only need to run your own life. You don't need to make sure that everything else is happening exactly as it's supposed to for everyone else. The only person you have to do that for is you. And if it's an I choose me journey, then choose me. I had to choose me. I had to stop giving the power to everyone else and being upset when they didn't want it, when they didn't care, when they didn't ask for my opinion, when they asked for my advice and then didn't do anything with it. And were they always asking? And I had to realize that if I pick up the phone, I need to know that that person is also going to do the same. That when I call or when I message, that they're going to be there for me too. And I realized that I'm always answering the phone for one friend on their schedule. And I realized, you know what? Hey, I'm in the middle of a movie. I'll call you tomorrow. And we've never talked since. And at the end of the day, if somebody is only seeing you as a convenience when they have the time, when they feel like it, you have to treat yourself better than that. You have to show up for yourself more than that, because at the end of the day, you aren't a convenience. You are an important person who deserves to be cherished and loved. But at the end of the day, only you can decide that through your actions and your decisions and your behavior. Who are you allowing to come into your life and just treat you however you want? Why do they get this access? These were questions that I had to ask myself, and I was like, they don't get this access. I allow them to have it, and I can take it back. I can revoke access whenever I want. And if people leave your life and you feel a lot lighter, if you feel like you finally have space to do stuff, it's important for you to recognize that and to move forward with that understanding. Now, friends need to start at a good level. This person in particular always messaged me when it was convenient for them and they had the time. It was never necessarily on my schedule. And the only time that they would answer was when they were also going through something difficult, because they needed someone to talk to as well. And that's okay. There was a time for that. But that time is no longer here. And the only way I can dedicate the rest of the year and the rest of my life to me is if I stop handing myself freely to all these other people. And if you feel that way, if you feel like you just handed so much to everyone over and over and over again, maybe it's time that the next person you hand your heart and your soul and your creativity and your humor to is you. You deserve everything that you've given to others, and you should be the first person to get that. That's not necessarily what we're always taught, and this is why I had to do an entire journal based off of choosing me. And it has been incredibly insightful to see that a lot of the stuff that I have to work on is judging myself, feeling that I'm behind, feeling that I'm not enough. And when you are seeing yourself through that, then nothing's ever going to be enough. Then having that one phone call randomly with that friend will also never be enough. But there's a balance there. It may not be enough that they're doing that, and you have to not see it as a reflection that you're not enough. They may not be acting appropriately, and you need to decide if that's going to work for you or not. And if it's not, that's your decision. You have to let them go. You don't have to cut them off and never speak to them again, but if that's what happens because you chose you, then it was meant to. There is nobody that deserves full freedom access to you without paying the consequences. I saw a quote the other day that says that salt is not an ingredient listed on the menu but it is certainly missed when it is not there. And if you're not missed when you're not there, then you don't need to be there. If they aren't reaching out in an appropriate way, in an appropriate time, then they are seeing you as this convenience. And that was something that I had to accept, that people are living the life that they want. Whether they're happy or not is their decision. If they feel like they're happy, if they're doing things that make them happy, let them. Let it go. It doesn't matter what they do or don't want. What matters is what you want. If they can follow through and be there for you in the ways that you are okay with, great. If they can't, you need to know that as well. Don't always pick up. See how they react. If they never reach out again, maybe it was a little too on their terms than you should have ever allowed. But hey, now you know. And they don't have to get any more of your energy and your bandwidth. And you might realize that suddenly you have the ability to share with the world again, and to share who you are, and to be happy, and to laugh, and to relax, and to rest, and to stop judging yourself in the meantime. Judging others, judging yourself, feeling not enough, feeling they're not enough. We have to accept that we are doing what we can. We are where we're supposed to be. And where we go next is up to us. And we're going to face difficult things and great things. How we choose to approach them and how much time we give them is up to us. We have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for, and we have to take it back. And that is really the final conclusion, is you have to believe people, and then you have to move on. You can't stay stuck. You can't stay in that feeling of hurt and of feeling behind and feeling like everything is happening to you and not for you. You can look at life in either way. Only one of them gives you power. And if you are constantly giving to others, you are not giving to yourself. I was not giving to myself, and I had a health issue that came up, and I realized that I wasn't drinking enough water. I wasn't taking care of myself enough. But what I was doing all the time was thinking about why people were acting like that. Why didn't she call me that day that we said we were going to talk, or that I was available? Why haven't we spoken in months? Why does this person act this way? Why didn't they ask me to be part of this? And I was like, you have bigger issues right now. You have health issues that you need to deal with. So, wherever you stand, wherever you are, you have to decide what's going to happen next. Believe people and then move on. So we're going to spend the next few months to the end of the year focused on this. So I hope you have an amazing day.